What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Bunsa's Bucket List Podcast, a show that brings you everything in basketball. I'm your host, Shea and O'Reilly, and I'm once again joined by my co-host and big brother, Callaghan. We're happy to be back after a short time off and are extremely excited to introduce you guys to a very special guest this week. Cal, why don't you give the people a proper introduction to him?
Thank you, Shay. Appreciate you having us as always. It'd be my pleasure to introduce him today. Our guest just finished his 5th year playing professional basketball overseas. Quite a few accolades himself. All Big South honorable mention in college. All Slovakian League honorable mention. Cyprus League All-Star. Lithuanian NKL champion. All Swedish Basket League and second team. All Hungarian League honorable mention. But most importantly, our brother. Some of you may know him as L.I. or Lili, or maybe even Uno if you're in that special select few who got the pleasure to play for Coach Collier. I'm proud to be here with Liam O'Reilly. Liam, thanks for joining us today. I know I speak for Shay and us both when I say we're really excited to have you here, and we've been looking forward to this podcast for a long time. How's life in the States treating you?
It's going well, man. First off, thanks for having me, fellas. Shay, we've been talking about this for a couple years, so it's really awesome to see it come to life. Cal, thanks for making that happen. We really appreciate you producing and doing your thing. But, life is great. It's awesome to be here, and, couldn't be more excited.
We have an awesome episode lined up for y'all today. I want us to give a quick recap of our basketball journey and how you came to play professionally. Cal, why don't you get us started and give everyone a history of Liam's basketball career?
Absolutely. Thank you, Shay. Yeah, so we'll start all the way back in high school. Liam, growing up, we're always on the smaller side a little bit. Talk to me about how that limited your game to begin with and shaped your mentality on the court.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was definitely undersized, grew late, probably about 5'6" my junior year, maybe like 5'2" as a freshman going into high school. So, having two older brothers, playing against them every day really helped me as a smaller player to just figure out how to, getting certain shots off and make certain plays, being undersized. And then that just really helped me as I got older and, transitioned pretty well. But, it was tough at times, but he made me a fighter and really brought that side of me out.
Yeah, as you said, two older brothers. So myself and our older brother Connor, we all played basketball for the same high school. And when Connor was a senior, I was a sophomore, and Liam was a freshman. So we were all there at the same time. We were actually lucky enough to even get to play together on the same team. My senior year, when he was a junior, we played varsity together. Unfortunately, we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time on the floor together. We kind of subbed in for each other, but I think we complemented each other pretty well. I pretty much played defense and facilitated, and he got buckets. So we were a good little 1-2 punch. But what was one of your fondest memories of high school basketball? Talk to me about that and just kind of what you remember from it.
Yeah, definitely. Growing up and seeing y'all, just being two older brothers in the program of Bowie, and then having the great coach of, Coach Collier is really a fun experience in high school and going to Bowie, and I'm very blessed, to have that. One of my fondest moments, I would say, is just my senior year, just having a great season and then, taking us to the third round and, all my teammates together, and that's just something that I'll remember forever.
Yeah, you guys had a better senior year than my senior year, that's for sure. I remember you guys making a little run there. It was exciting to watch you guys play.
For sure.
One of my fondest memories has to be the time, it only happened once, but me, you, and Connor all got to play on the same AAU basketball team for a tournament in one weekend, and I just remember having so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
I think we had 6 players, so we pretty much all played together the whole time. We dominated that weekend.
Yeah,
but
that was definitely one of the best times. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. All right, Shay, take us over. We're going to talk a little bit about going into college and how your early college days started.
You started off your collegiate career at Callaghan Junior College in Plano, where you spent your first 2 years developing your game. I think a lot of people don't really know much about junior college basketball. So tell us about the JUCO life and how it helped to prepare you for your next level.
Yeah, it's a great question, Shay. You know, JUCO was hard. It was tough at times, a lot of ups and downs. You know, the main thing is, I look back at that time as one of the most, fun time of my life, just having to go through those moments with my teammates and my brothers, and not having a lot, and the facilities weren't as nice, and the gyms you're playing with aren't as good. But it just really made you work and understand that, if you want to get to that next level, you got to grind, and that's what it really taught me that, and just having that mentality that I gotta get to the next step, and just if I work hard, then JUCO does that great opportunity of giving you that exposure, and that's what I didn't have when I was a little bit undersized growing up and things like that. So it did wonders for me, and I'm really happy to be a JUCO product. I know people say that a lot, but it really means something to me when I say it. Like we had to go through a lot of grind, and I remember those moments, and they take me to these to these levels that I still think about those times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think back on him playing there, and I think some of the things that stand out to me, like you just said, as far as where you grew there, I think we all, we love basketball growing up. We played all the time. We were in the gym all the time, but I don't think we were very smart about what we were doing in the gym. We played a lot of pickup and got shots up, but we weren't really getting the right type of work in. And I think seeing you come back from those first 2 years and seeing, how much you understood what the work needs to look like and how much you have to actually put in the gym, and an hour in the gym with the right thing is 100 times more helpful than spending 3 hours at the gym just, doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that stood out to me. You also hit a pretty good growth spurt and really started to grow into your body those first couple of years when you were in Collin. I think your final year you ended up averaging 15.1 points a game, 4 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game, and 2 steals, which is really that's really impressive to get to 2 steals as a guard. That's tough to do. People don't realize it. Earned yourself a college offer to play Division I in Gardner Webb at Gardner Webb, in North Carolina, where you went on to complete your career. Where do you think the biggest adjustment was when you're moving from the junior college level up to the Division I level, and basketball facilities, everything? What's that adjustment look like?
Yeah, definitely. Just touching back a little bit what you said earlier. Shout out to Coach Sagona and Coach Courtney Smith, who even found me and allowed me to go to Collin, and make all those mistakes and make all those, just different things that I had to do to develop as a player, and I'm really thankful for them.
Yeah.
So big shout out to them. And then when I got to Gardner Webb, the pace was a lot different, the size was different, the athleticism was different. Everybody on my team was good. Wasn't used to that. Ball was in my hands a lot in JUCO, where I had to make a lot of plays. Just trying to figure out how to play with people that are just as good as you and just fitting in a different system. It definitely was a journey.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think your first year was kind of a feel-out year for you. It took you a little adjustment as far as to work your way back into that playing spot. You've always, every year going up to that in your life, you'd always been a starter, right? And probably played mostly the whole game. And then it went to a point where I don't think you were starting your first year at Gardner Webb, so you had to earn that spot. But you ended up earning it. You put in the work. Your second year, your final season at Gardner Webb, last year of college, you averaged 14.8 points a game, 4.7 rebounds a game, 3.8 assists, 1 steal on 45% field goal percentage, 38 from the 3, and 85 from the free throw, which is pretty solid shooting. After that, you went on to sign with an agent, and you spent your rookie year professionally with MBK Riker Komarno in the Slovakian Basketball League, where you went on to earn yourself all Slovakian honorable mention that year. Tell us, again, what's that adjustment was, how that was from going from the Division I level to professionally, and how did that first year go in your eyes? Was it a success? Was it a failure? What were the things you could have done better? What were the things that you think you did great? All that.
Yeah, that rookie season was really tough. Some of the first memories I think about is just having to ride my bike because I didn't have a car, and not having a lot of money, and just trying to figure out how to get around in a little town, and a club and an organization and a league that's just sometimes not as put together as other places, and you just have to deal with that first little rookie, kind of like a little rookie wall that you have. But going back on what we just was touched, going from JUCO to Division I, kind of the same situation, going from Division I to playing that first year of pro, a little bit different, a lot more physical, just a couple different adjustments. But it was a tough season. It ended up being a good season. Played pretty well. Got, I think, kind of same situation as my junior season at Gardner Webb. I started off starting, and then a new coach came in, and that was my first time really dealing with that adversity. At that level. When you're in college and high school and stuff like that, you're gonna play and things like that. But new coach comes in, you realize you can get fired at any second. So all those things go through your head. But just really seeing the business side that first season really helped me.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time when they ask me about you playing professionally, they're like, "Oh man, that's so awesome!" Like, yeah, it's great, but people think it's all glitz and glamour playing professional basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I think it goes back to your JUCO days when junior college facilities. You look at some, and not only do they not have their own gym, they're sharing it with PE. You can't even get in the gym. You don't have a trainer.
Right.
So on top of all that stuff, you go from that to professional, where there's lots of leagues,
Same
and
thing,
there's
almost.
lots of teams where it's the same exact thing.
My Slovakia, my rookie season was pretty much the same thing. No trainer, and
right.
None of that.
They don't have the funding, or they don't have the infrastructure.
Really limited gym access. That was one of the worst things for me.
So it all depends. There's obviously levels to it, right? You get to certain leagues and stuff. Like you've had experiences, you've had teams that you played on recently that it was total opposite, right? They give you a car, and you had the great facilities and trainer and athletic staff and all that stuff, but really just goes to show the grind of the game of basketball and how you really just got to find a way to adapt, and whether you have the resources or not, you still got to get out there on the floor and perform at a high level. So I think it's cool to see that. All right, well, fast forward about 5 years. You've had the beginning of a really solid professional basketball career, having now played in Slovakia, Cyprus, Germany, Lithuania, Sweden, and last year in Hungary. Just tell us a little bit about your experience, what it's like to get to travel around and experience different cultures, different countries, and get to play the game of basketball, which is obviously the game you love while you do it. What's that like? What does that mean to you?
Man, it means a lot. Getting to see different countries. You just mentioned, I think it's like 6 or 7 now that I've been to in my 5-year career in Europe, which is pretty short. So getting to see different places, different cultures, different foods, different, way of life is really exciting outside of basketball. And then, inside of basketball, each league is different, played differently, ref differently. Yeah. Just the way they do things are differently. They train differently. So seeing all those different experiences has been a lot of fun, and I'm very blessed. So, I'm excited to continue this journey. Yeah,
like you said, I mean, from league to league, there's lots of differences as far as rules, as far as how refs call games, as far as whatnot, how many Americans can be on the court at the same time. Players, talk to me a little bit about what it's like to get to know the local players, the people who are from the country, and get to kind of, experience what they go through. And, because a lot of these people don't really realize it, but a lot of these guys have other jobs, like they don't make enough to where basketball can be the only thing they get to do. So they have to have another job outside of that, right? They got a family, and now they have 2 full-time jobs, because basketball is absolutely a full-time job and some. But just talk a little bit about that and what kind of that experience has been like from you.
Yeah, it's been fun. Each country, like I said, they just do things a little bit differently. So just trying to operate within the way they do things, but also being true to yourself, and what your morals and core values are and stuff. As far as playing with the domestic players in that league, it's been fun seeing them, like you said. So I've been in the league like last year, Sweden, where almost all my guys had other jobs, right? And they're doing things all day, and then they're trying to come to practice at night. And I'm getting upset at them for not having the same energy as me, but I've been sitting at home stretching all day and
it's
getting ready for practice. So
Absolutely.
You gotta, definitely, it hits you, and it lets you realize, try to empathize with them a little bit. And then there's other places where you go to Germany, and that's all they do, and they're just like Americans when it comes to the competition level and things like that. So each country's different.
No, absolutely. All right, Shea, let's kick it back over to you.
Now that you're back, what are your plans for the offseason?
Yeah, just trying to hang out with you as much as I can, my guy. Just hang out with my family. Stay in the gym, over there at Texas Pro Academy. We got a great little system out there, so doing that and just, hanging out with my family, trying to enjoy the sun and all those things.
At Texas Pro Academy, you get to practice and compete against college and professional players from all over. Talk about the type of environment that creates and how important it is to surround yourself and compete with the best competition possible.
Yeah, great question, Shea. First off, shout out to Texas Pro Academy, Zach Urbanus with BTY Basketball, and Christian Placencia with Durable Athlete. Really thankful for them for making this program and allowing players from all ages, from high school, college, and the pro level to get better, come together and just work out in the summer and the off season and all have that same mindset of just, trying to compete and get better. And the first thing I think about is always just like family, brotherhood. When I walk in there, it just feels like home to me. So, Texas Pro Academy has been great. So, shout out to Zach, Christian. We appreciate them, and we're excited to see how things keep progressing in the years to come. So.
Well, that is all we have for today's episode of the Bunsa's Bucket List Podcast. Thanks to our special guest, Liam, for joining us today. And thanks for everyone who has shown us support. We hope you enjoyed episode 5. And we have some more exciting guests lined up. So stay tuned for more episodes to come soon.
As you said, fellas, that's all we got for today, ladies and gents. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and YouTube at Bunsa's Bucket List. Once again, thanks, Liam, for joining us. We appreciate having you. I'm sure you'll see some more of them soon. So y'all stay tuned. But thanks again, and see y'all next week.
See ya.